Well, everybody, I don't know if y'all were here before the break, but Omari set us up for a great segment. I'm really excited, as always, to be able to sit across from my brother, Wyking Garrett, President and CEO of Africatown Community Land Trust. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
Peace. Good morning. It's good to be back. Always good to come through the morning update with Big O and Trey Day.
We have to do it, man. I mean, literally, he set us up. We know that Mayor Durkin had a call this week, and I just want to reiterate, Africatown Community Land Trust had no knowledge of it. Somebody had to send it to you, right, to make sure you even knew that these events were happening. So we really want to hear from you about this call. What did you feel was a hit or a miss? Give us your update.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we got sources. We have our GIA, our Ghetto Intelligence Agency, so we're always going to strive to keep our ear to the street. But, even take a step back I think April 23rd, Mayor Durkin had a Central Seattle town hall, and one of the things that stuck out in terms of what was said on that was that Seattle should come out of this as a better city, not the same city, but more just, more equitable, less inequities. And that was very much in tune with what we've been saying about the new normal rooted in equity and what we're working on, that we can't go back. We don't want to go back to that old normal. This past Monday, there was, a call, I guess they call it a facilitated conversation about, with community leaders about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on Black community. And we've seen the statistics nationwide about how this is, the devastation that's happening and how we're taking a larger brunt due to past systemic policies and practices that have made our communities more vulnerable and less resilient in the face of this. And so this is a very important conversation, and actually having an agenda to mitigate that, is very important. And so, when I heard about it, I just reached out to some people that I know that have been on the front lines, working, responding with our community, people that have also been in many rooms with the mayor's office and other elected officials, informing policy and weighing in on behalf of our community. And the far majority of them had no knowledge of it and had not been invited. But fortunately, we were able to share the information, and some were able to get on the call. But just the way the call was set up was, it was very highly moderated. It was more the mayor speaking as she speaks, like on CNN, when she gives a report of the city's done this and done that and done this, and not really addressing a specific agenda to deal with the disproportionate impacts, on our community that is already being pushed, out of the city. A lot of people strive to, the way they comment, the questions and engagement was moderated, didn't allow for a lot of issues to be brought up and addressed, real significant issues around, the uptick in shootings in our community. Our brother Will was here yesterday. He was speaking about a lot of the young people he works with. They don't know anybody that's died from COVID, or contracted, but they know their peers that have been killed during this time, and been shot at, and there's not a real response to increase the community safety. And unfortunately, there's even some people that are doing work that had contracts, I think like Community Passageways and Creative Justice, that had funding that had been appropriated, but then due to the pandemic, now that's frozen. So even resources that would go to help deal with these issues with people that are on the front lines are held up, right? And so this just creates more of an opportunity. So there was other issues, around just the fact of, getting to a new normal rooted in equity, the predatory development that's happening in community, and calling for a moratorium on that, on predatory development, whether it's the residential house flippers like Bucks Buys Houses, or this, what's the predatory stuff that's happening around the former Cairo site, right? And so really having a strategic, comprehensive plan, which is what we've been working on in the community with people that are on the ground, and not even having an opportunity for that to be presented, right? Is like, this is just like a disservice, really.
So my question then really lies in, I'm wondering, what was the purpose of this? Was it really about a report back, basically, on things that they felt that they have done for African American community?
Well, it seemed like kind of more of a check the box to say, we talked to the leaders of the Black community, whoever that, is chosen to be, I guess. And so, again, we're staying focused. We think there's still great opportunity for the community to advance an agenda of solutions, and then have, the mayor and the city and other elected officials weigh in on how they can be a part of a community-driven, solution-oriented plan that will really get us towards a new normal rooted in equity. Because we have to move from rhetoric to reality. A lot of times in Seattle, we hear a lot of rhetoric. Yes, we need to have a more equitable city. Some people are not, everyone's not benefiting as the cities grows. Yes, we hear that, but at the same time, we see what's happening in the Central District, right? Predatory development. We see the South End is becoming, less diverse, right? And so it's going to take bold interventions to really course correct, to even have any Black community in Seattle in 10 years.
Let me jump in real quick. Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, all right.
It's Daryl. We be yelling a lot at Daryl, but he be over here innovating. So I had a quick question though. When you're saying that like the mayor is talking to the Black establishment, what I'm saying is, so people might not understand is, there's an establishment everywhere. Is the problem fundamentally here though that the establishment isn't reaching the actual, the street level? Because everything's an establishment. You see what I'm saying? Where's the disconnect here?
I think the disconnect is, yes, there are, many. I heard the term gatekeeper related. In old times, they used to call them overseers, right? On the plantation, they called them overseers that have been put in positions to look like they're representing our interests, and often they're not advancing solutions that are really in our best interest, and even being the face of solutions that are not in our best interest. When Weed and Seed was implemented in this city, it was under a mayor who had the same complexion as our community that has been decimated as a result of Weed and Seed. And so, again, that old regime that has allowed our community to be in such a vulnerable place, to be such decimated, to have, our young people so out of touch with their own value and worth that they're taking each other's lives, right? Like that, those are failures of whoever these, representatives that have the ear and, get the call to advise the next move, or maybe sometimes it's just to tell us what the next move is coming from somewhere else outside of our community. And that's what we have to, disrupt. So much has been disrupted with COVID, and we need that old type of relationship to be disrupted and eliminated, so that we can actually move forward and get the solutions and have real community-based, community-rooted, community-accountable strategies and initiatives being resourced, and the resources under our control. And that's what, really we're talking about with the new normal.
And that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask that. So when we get back from the break, we should definitely dive in to what that means, so people can understand all of the nuances with the new normal. You guys, we'll be back right after this break.
I was at the grand opening of the Liberty Bank building, and I just saw so many folks there who had dreams and aspirations of something like that happening again in our community, where once that was the norm, we developed, we build, we created, and now to have to say we got to come back and do it again, this is just the first time, was inspiring to me. I think it also I think Africatown has created a model that others can follow, but I also think that you guys have created, just an energy around the community of folks that are now believing that we can, hold on to it. We're not done. It's not over. The game ain't over. Sometimes, when you look at the clock, I'm playing sports, you down 21 points in the first quarter. You can either start working harder to get back in it, or you can shut it down and say it's over. Well, you guys have let us know that the game's not over. It's not over.
Welcome back, you guys, to the Morning Update Show. I am in a great segment right now with President and CEO of Africatown Community Land Trust, Wyking Garrett. So, before the break, we were talking about the mayor's call. Let's hear a little bit about what ACLT is doing in response.
Yeah, Africatown Community Land Trust, we've been working to support our community in whatever ways we can. One of the things is that we received a grant from the Seattle Foundation COVID response they gave out grants, a lot of them were to shore up organizations to continue doing their work during this time and beyond. We thought that it would be more impactful to our community at this time to put that back into the community in the form of primarily direct assistance. So recently, as of this week or last Friday, we did launch our direct assistance program, which is for housing security, including renters and homeowners, as well as business owners and community programs that are already doing the work. So, again, supporting initiatives that are already happening in our community before there was any type of grants or anything like that. So we have to be collaborative. But one of the things that's very important is Black businesses. Through Black Dot, there has been a significant amount of support, webinars that were happening 4 days a week to help our entrepreneurs understand and apply for the resources, particularly the Small Business Administration resources, relief. But a recent report came out that said 95%, I think this was from the Center for Responsible Lending, 95% of Black businesses stand not to receive any of those resources. So we did set aside some funds to provide direct assistance grants or direct assistance to businesses and launching a fund. We saw the great community response to help the flower shop in late December through Africatown Media Network, raising the awareness around that legacy business. And now we need to go out and support a lot more of our businesses. So, there's a fund. You go to africatownlandtrust.org to contribute to the Black Business Support Fund. Those will be, again, distributed to businesses in the community, and they can support the community assistance, because what we are able to do is really a drop in the bucket in comparison to the need. So we're also collaborating, particularly around Liberty Bank. That was a project to keep our community in and bring folks back to the community. And we don't want this to be a reason for folks to be pushed out, COVID. So the partners there, Bird Bar Place and Capitol Hill Housing, are also matching to provide, the maximum amount of assistance and resources to the residents there. People can apply for assistance from other places. You don't have to live there, but we definitely wanted to make sure we prioritize that we don't lose ground in what we're doing there. So again, it's going to take a lot more, so people can go to Africatown Land Trust, and if you can, give and support someone else. That's what it's about right now. We have to really look out for each other. I love that, and I know you didn't say numbers here, but we have to actually let the community know. I mean, ACLT, Africatown Community Land Trust, was granted $100 grand and decided to give 90 grand back to community. Is that correct? That is correct, and you are the face of Africatown Community Land Trust on the morning show, but people may not know that you're the community builder with Africatown Community Land Trust, and so you're the one behind the scenes helping make sure that this process was one that was dignified for our community. We don't want people to, be compromised in that way, as we're, people need assistance at different times, and we look out for each other. But yes, and we know that's not enough, right? And so that's why, again, we're calling for people to give as you can, so that we can keep that cycle going and be able to support more people in our community, particularly around the businesses which are not receiving a lot of the resources that we hear about being distributed. Well, it's crazy when we start to hear these numbers and they start reporting on them. 95% is astronomical. Yeah. So, you know, good work on the land trust side for just seeing the need and saying, look, let's just step in, let's create this fund. We're going to, you know, make sure we solicit donations and get our businesses some support. ACLT is also doing some other measures that I know that you wanted to describe and make sure the community is aware of. Please let us know what else is going on. Well, there's also the resource navigator is going to be assisting people, one of the criteria that we have with our fund is, one, prioritizing community builders in that fund, right? So people that actually give to the community in many different ways, from coaching sports to tutoring to volunteering in nonprofits, being on boards, that actually build the community that they don't necessarily get an economic value for. We want to strive to, prioritize helping them, because they're helping us all the time. They're giving. So in this time, if they're in need, a lot of times they put themselves last, right? And so we want to put them first in this equation, as well as so to prioritizing the community builders, as well as giving people an opportunity to bring their resources and skills, to bear to help create more opportunities, because we're going to have to advocate for some major policy interventions and resource redistributing to get to that new normal. We talked about the mayor's call, right? And also the town hall and the statement about Seattle being more equitable after, right? And there's going to have to, again, be very strategic and different, bold solutions invested in. But the fact of the matter is, right now, we've been really in a Jim Crow apartheid situation that's only been getting worse. If you look at some of the statistics that have been, shown around income, where the median white income is over twice that of what black. So when we talk about apartheid, that's what we're talking about. We talk about Jim Crow, maybe people are more familiar with Jim Crow. And basically that's when you have systemic policies from public and private sector, basically socially engineering people into a second class citizenship, right? And if you look at the numbers, that's what we see. And this is in Martin Luther King County. So how do you have Martin Luther King County and apartheid in the same sentence, right? They're opposite, right? And so this is a reality that is potentially only going to be exacerbated, increased, accelerated, if there's not specific, clear measures taken to course correct and redirect the trajectory of the city, which is on a path to not having a black community and other communities in the future of the city, right? And now is the time again to take the actions around making that not be the case. Apartheid, the root word is apart, and we can see if the resource is over here and we're over here, that's the apartness that we want to solve for.
Wow.
Chime in over here from our impromptu news desk today. We wanted to go ahead and Daryl's going to put one of these graphics up there from the numbers from the U.S. Census Department. Has put together the graphic by the Seattle Times, which puts that economic disparity out there, I think, where it says black homeowners at 42,000, or black households at 42,500, and white homeowners top out at 105,000.
Yeah.
So now that we put that for the viewers to be able to see it along this discussion of apartheid, Jim Crow apartheid here in the county, I wanted to give them a visual representation of that.
Yeah, I think seeing is believing, right?
Yeah.
And the number, what Jay-Z say, men lie, women lie, numbers don't, I think it's important to acknowledge that that is where we're at, right? And just rhetoric, just words about it is not going to change it. Right. It's going to take redistribution of resources, because that's what that really represents, the fact of how the systemic maldistribution of resources from slavery to now has produced these conditions that we're looking at. And so again, apartheid, right? And so you see one number and you see we're quite apart from that number of the white median incomes there. The home ownership, we see the same thing, home ownership going down in the black community. And so,
oh man, this, you have just boom, the new Jim Crow and the new apartheid. I mean, that right is here. Really what in it Seattle, is. Right? And that is in really Seattle. What we're dealing with right here in Seattle.
Those are things that we expect to see in, Mississippi, 1950s, right. That level of disparity, South Africa, right? Apartheid, there was a movement, my father was one of the, was a founder of the anti-apartheid movement, but that was about, South Africa, back in the 80s, right? Ice Cube said, you say free South Africa, I stare at you, because we don't got it too good in America, right? And these numbers basically show we don't have to go far, right. And so, no, we don't see MAGA hats I guess this is a different type of Jim Crow. You know, this is the latte iPhone with the yoga mat Jim Crow apartheid that we got to disrupt.
Oh man!
Yesterday, when Willard Jimerson was here, and I mean, he has it all down into all the acronyms. But what he talked about is just that Seattle is full of really a bunch of people who are so institutionalized with their racism here. You know, I mean, there's people who are 100% against our overall best interest, but they did vote for Obama. And then when maybe them and a girlfriend or whatever, husband and wife, went to go and they saw Michelle at the Tacoma Dome, and even probably got the autographed book. That's what's so.
And they may even have a Black Lives Matter poster in their window in their house in the CD where a black family used to live.
Right.
But like, unfortunately, there hasn't been a time in Seattle's history when black people have been here, the Central District of Seattle. We have an unabridged history where there hasn't been systemic racism and policies against us. You know what I'm saying? And so we got these people who are making these policies all day long downtown. Who I swear it's 100%. They'll tell you I voted for Obama,
right?
And they did. And that's what we talked about. The best thing about the South, though, when you mentioned Mississippi, is people just wave the flag and say, nigga, keep running. You know where they stand.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You come out here, it's quicksand.
I mean, it might be something in the coffee, too, that contributes to people having these blind spots, right? And if you really want to get into it, well, how much commercial real estate do black people own in Seattle? How many buildings do we own downtown, right? If you really want to see the disparities, right? And now we can't even own these little lots in the neighborhood where we've been for, 440 years. So where are we going to own something? What equity stake will we have in the city in 2035 with their current trajectory of things in 2030, right? So these are the realities that people have to face. So I'm glad that we were able to, show the images and call people to the opportunity to change things, because in every challenge is also an opportunity, and the resources are here, the innovation is here, and we just need to get the folks that really want justice to get together and get real serious about making a change.
Absolutely. You guys, with that, I'm going to take a quick break because we have some actual call to action items coming from Wyking Garrett on the other side of this break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I was at the grand opening of the Liberty Bank building, and I just saw so many folks there who had dreams and aspirations of something like that happening again in our community, where once that was the norm, we developed, we built, we created, and now to have to say we got to come back and do it again, this is just the first time, was inspiring to me. I think it also I think Africatown has created a model that others can follow, but I also think that you guys have created, just an energy around the community of folks that are now believing that we can, hold on to it. We're not done. It's not over. The game ain't over. And sometimes, when you look at the clock, I'm playing sports, you're down 21 points in the first quarter. You can either start working harder to get back in it, or you can shut it down and say it's over. Well, you guys have let us know that the game's not over. It's not over.
Well, thank you guys for joining us right here on the Morning Update Show on Africatown Media Network. This has been an amazing interview with Wyking Garrett, President and CEO of Africatown Community Land Trust. We promised you that we were going to give you guys some action items that you guys can do. He's been leading up to the fact that we no longer rely on the leadership or the system that has been here. So Wyking Garrett, I know you have some things that people need to be doing in terms of moving forward in what we're considering the new normal.
Right. I think, in every challenge is opportunity, right? And but you have to be clear about that the challenge or the problem even exists. And so this is what we want to make sure that we're defining. What is the current state? The current state is this, Jim Crow apartheid right here in Seattle in the Northwest. And so now, if we want to move towards a more just and equitable city, I think Seattle is a place to do that. When the Space Needle was put up, that was to say Seattle's a city of the future, right? And now we have all this innovation, all the resources are here, and it's leading in many ways let's lead in the way of having a new normal rooted in equity, having solutions for communities to grow and thrive in place and not be displaced as new development and economic growth happens. Seattle, many people may not know, led with Weed and Seed, which is really what we're seeing the results of, right? Black community was basically identified as weeds. Now from 80% of the population, it's going down. This new census is going to really tell what the numbers are. Make sure you fill out your census form so we can make sure the resources are getting where they need to go. But we need the innovation minds, our elected officials, policymakers, philanthropy, corporate, there needs to be a real reckoning on how do we get to the next step to this reality of a new normal rooted in equity. And so, Equity Now, Anti-Apartheid Coalition, that is something to move it forward. Real solutions around how do we get the land, the resources for developing affordable housing, affordable home ownership, having space for businesses and economic development for us to plug into the innovation economy, and a moratorium on predatory development. These are things that need to happen now, right? And so these are some of the ways people can, again, plug in, go to africatownlandtrust.org, follow the social channels to keep up as things are happening. There will be more events to address this as the coalition is building and forming. And we need folks to tap in and not tap out. One thing that we have tomorrow, or later actually at 1 o'clock today, is shared commercial space for retail and food businesses. Really, it's like a focus group kind of mini solution session, bringing together developers, entrepreneurs that either in the food sector or retail sector. We know COVID has completely devastated those sectors. They're not going to be the same. And so we need new innovative models to maximize the amount of our businesses that are getting into the new developments. Because what we found through the work on Liberty Bank and other projects where there's been space committed to businesses from our community to continue the legacy of Black entrepreneurship in the Central District is that the tenant improvement cost in new construction is a big barrier, right? Yeah. So how can we use cooperative economics, and maybe have like a food hall where there's several businesses that are able to be incubated, retail, some folks remember Columbia Plaza, right, and King Center, or even the Pike Place Market, where again, there's a lot less overhead costs on the entrepreneur to get started. So that's something we're excited about for today at 1 o'clock.
I just wanted to throw in the specific details on that. So that's the food and retail incubator session, and that's coming up directly here at the top of the hour. But people can go to right here. Most people are watching on the Africatown Facebook page. So if you wanted to click into that Zoom, just go to the Africatown Facebook page and under events, and you'll see the retail and food incubator. Also, I think on the Black Dot and the Land Trust Facebook page. So that's right here at the top of the hour. So we want to keep people with Africatown the whole day long.
I love it. I love it. Please join that at 1 o'clock. I know some business owners who are so excited to hear about some new models when it comes to shared space. Like you just said, everything we can do in terms of being innovative regarding our buildings and building up our community. That's what Africatown Community Land Trust is doing. And there's opportunities for you guys to all plug in. So as KY King just explained, there is actually a link that you guys can click to support this new normal framework. We'll make sure you guys get that. It'll be on Africatown Central District's page on Facebook, so you guys can click the link, sign up to support that framework. We need all the supporters in the community and beyond, because as you can see, if we keep on with the status quo and the way the systems have been designed, y'all, it's not about us, and we need to do something for ourselves. So with that, I want to talk about the next initiative we have, and we can bring Dev Chef on to the set. You guys, ACLT has also been investing in these initiatives from day one. No, just come on in. Okay. He's giving you food. We're doing lunches. Okay. Yeah. So we got Dev Chef on the set.
I might have to cheat on my little 30-day smoothie.
Yeah, we got Dev Chef on the set. He is, ACLT is supporting Def Chef's efforts in terms of community food. We know that there's a lot of food bank style operations happening in the community, and one of the things that we wanted to do to be very specific to our community is provide actual meals for people. So what we've done is we've partnered with Emergency Feeding Program. They're bringing us 850 pounds of food every week, and we are partnering with Def Chef to have actual meals at the Soulful Dishes. You guys can pick them up. They're full-on meals. Do you see this here? I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, let's see the sandwich. He did his own chicken salad. Look at that. Boom. Look at that. Boom. There he is, Def Chef. Def Chef, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We never do walk-ins on the show, so this is our first time.
Yeah, man, I've been meaning to do this.
ODB'd us. He ODB'd us.
I've been trying to pull this for a long time. I finally pulled it off today.
You did it, man. I'm so excited.
Children,
Yeah.
It's like for the kids.
Yeah. So let the people know. I mean, I know you're partnering with us. Thank you for that partnership. What is it looking like for folks? They can come up there to Soulful Dishes, get a meal. What are the hours? What's going on? They want to know how they get fed.
Well, pretty much 1 until we close, whatever time that is, 7:30. Sometimes we're there a little bit later cleaning up, but you could come get yourself a meal. Sometimes it'll be hot. Sometimes it'll be something like this, a sandwich, some produce. We got some good soup here.
Ooh.
Some cheese broccoli soup.
I'm excited.
We got some bacon, we got some Doritos for you, but we also have other stuff. We'll have salads. Depending on what we got is what we'll push out. It'll always be something awesome. And with you guys being on board, this has been much easier and much more productive.
Yeah, thank you. I mean,
different before.
I love it because, you know, me and you have been talking for months about concepts on how we partner, how we get people food, how do we do this? You already had a whole setup. And so basically we're just like, look, we know we can just support you with your setup. Like, let's make sure we get the food to you. You'll get it out to community. So thank you for that. I know you're going to be looking out there for all of the store managers that are, you know, connected to Whole Foods, Safeways. You're going to be getting donations for our community. So we just wanted to support you, and we want you guys to know that this exists right here in our community with our community brother, of course, all of us Garfield grads. We don't want to brag, but you know, Bulldogs. Hey. So once again, okay, yeah, okay, thank you. We want to get any last words from our interviewee, K. Wyking Garrett. Thank you again for joining us.
I just want to say salute to, you know, Def Chef, our brother, you know, Chef T, you know, Tariq, you know, the Kitchen Collective, everyone that's been feeding, because the first stage of community is like food, right? And so that's very important. We're, you know, happy to support. And the new normal is also about what we do for ourselves, you know. So yes, we spoke about some of the outside, the systemic issues, but it starts with us, you know, like we got to stay healthy, build up our immune system, right? You know, get involved with Nurturing Roots Farm, the Black Farmers Collective, start growing food as well. That's our first level of healthcare. The Health First healthcare facility is a kitchen, right? And so again, making sure that we're healthy, we're moving towards our taking control of the education, and then the new normal rooted in equity is about us having more equity. That means land that we can develop and control of the resources that are supposed to impact us. Another thing that we've seen over the last 40, 50 years is that all of these organizations, millions, billions of dollars every year, but our conditions continuously get worse, right? So we should have control over the resources, and they should be accountable to community-led, self-determined solutions like what we see here modeled with. They didn't wait for a grant to get started. We had a resource, they had skills, had a facility, and activated, you know, and so this is more of what we need in our community. And when we have that, and then we also demand that the systems relate to us in a different way as well. So jump on board. We got work to do. There's room for everyone to bring their talents and their skills, and you can go on Africatown Land Trust and also make a contribution. Yes. $10, $5, $20, $50, because it's only coming back to the community.
That's right. That's right. And I just love that. That's why I love working here, y'all. If any of y'all know me, y'all know I'm a realist, okay? So I can't be working for the fake ones. We are the real ones here, and we care about our community. I also want to let you guys know, if you guys have time, talent, treasure, please log on to africatownlandtrust.org and volunteer. Bring your time to the table. We will love that. And with that, you guys, it's been a great show. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so glad that you're here. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Morning Update Show right here on Africatown Media Network.